Hello, my name is Ethan Hack and I'm the Director of Teaching in the School of Biology. What we'd like to do today is to welcome those of you who have already chosen to study at Newcastle and maybe give you a little more insight into what our programs are about, and also to help those of you who haven't yet decided to give you some reasons why we think Newcastle is a great place to study. And I'll tell you a bit about my perspective on the degrees to begin with, but the main emphasis is on getting the student's perspective. So at this point, I need to introduce there's two students here, and we have Francesca Ridley, who's a first-year student in zoology, and Ollie Burton, who's a second-year student of biology, focusing on cellular and molecular biology. So that brings me to what our degrees are about. Those of you who have already applied will know this already, but we have a general biology degree which allows you to maintain breadth throughout your 3 years, or you can do biology with a concentration either on the cellular and molecular side or the ecology and conservation side of the subject, or if you're most excited about animals, then you can do our degree in zoology. And all of these degrees you can either do as a 3-year degree in which you have an optional placement year, or you can do them as a 4-year degree, at the end of which you get an M.Biol. The flavour of these degrees, what do we do in them? Well, they're all about biology of organisms, and all of them deal to one degree or another with animals, plants, and microorganisms, because all of these interact and are important together, and all of them work from the scale of molecules all the way to ecosystems. So we give you really a flavour for the whole of biology, but concentrating on a particular part. And we hope that if you're thinking about studying biology, it's because you're excited about the subject and curious about it. So we want to help you develop your insight and knowledge of the subject, but also to go over some of the practical applications of biology. And one of the things we do is we try to have strong links between the teaching that we do and the research. And some of the areas of research which we have in the school are such things as protecting crops against the various hazards that they face, so maintaining food production, discovering new drugs to deal with things like the loss of antibiotic effectiveness, and also conservation of endangered species throughout the world. And also, besides developing knowledge, we help you to develop a whole range of skills which will be useful to you whatever you decide to do after you leave the university. It's important to appreciate that this choice of degrees is very flexible, and the reason for that is that we have a common first year. So you can really decide after the first year which direction it is that you want to go. We keep practical hands-on experience throughout, both through field work and lab work, and in that regard we're fortunate. We have excellent teaching research laboratories, we have access to university field stations, and also in and around Newcastle, we have fantastic sites of international importance, most notably, I suppose, the Farne Islands. We do a significant amount of small group teaching, particularly through tutorials in the first year and through project work, and we help students settle down. Each student is assigned a trained student mentor to help them out. And other things we do to really try to maximise the benefit of the experience to students. We have a student-chaired student staff committee. We have a system by which we record most of our lectures called Recap. And the bottom line, I suppose, is that our students appreciate the degrees. And we've had consistently high levels of satisfaction in the National Student Survey. Looking more broadly, I've mentioned the natural areas we have. Here in the northeast of England, we have excellent travel links to the rest of the world. We're closely integrated into the city. We regard ourselves and take pride in being what we call a civic university. So part of our mission is to interact with the rest of the northeast. And that helps to make it a vibrant, exciting place to study. And as a Russell Group, we consistently feature in the top 200 of world rankings. And I suppose another thing to say is that one of the things we do is we do encourage students to ask us questions, to enter into dialogue and discussion with us. And really that's one of the things that is so satisfying about being a university lecturer, is that interaction with students. That's what keeps us in the job. So at this point, I turn to our students, and perhaps Francesca, start with you.
Okay.
If you could just say a little bit about what you're doing. You mentioned it was zoology, and why you chose to come to Newcastle.
Yeah, so I'm just about to finish my first year. So I'm doing the integrated first year. So that's shared between all the strands of biology that the school provides. And so that's been really good because you've kind of seen some different aspects which you didn't choose to study, but they're important aspects, and it gives people the opportunity to develop an interest in something which they might not have thought about so much. So it has been really, really interesting. But no, zoology is my main
so you've been
focus, so I'm staying there. But I know
yes.
quite a few people who started as zoology and are transferring onto the broad biology category. So that's been really useful for quite a lot of people. And I chose Newcastle because it does have a good reputation for the all-over student experience, and that's something I have seen as well since being here. I feel like you get a lot of kind of attention on the course, a lot of attention, if you have the initiative to ask about something and find out more if you're struggling, the help is always there. So that's been absolutely brilliant. And the other kind of benefits, the societies, everything like that, I can't fault it really. So yeah, it's great.
How about you, Ollie?
Yeah, so as has been said, I've just finished my second year. I'm doing the cellular and molecular biology option, which sort of specialises more in what goes on in a test tube and on the very small scale, although there is room for overlap. And like has been said, I did the same common first year, so we did modules in sort of animal kingdom and taxonomy and all things like that, and we've only specialised within the second year. But because everyone has covered the same bases and you do have that option to switch, I know definitely, I think quite a few in our year changed tack from the course they originally applied to, which is fantastic, because until you've got into that system you might not know exactly what you want to do. And I think having that integrated first year is a really, really good way to let you choose what you want to do more effectively. And as to why Newcastle, for me, I already knew the city. I'm from the northeast, and it's such a friendly place. It's a relatively small city. Everyone's so nice, and on the open day, I remember coming here and everyone was just so friendly. The standard of teaching is excellent. It's this idea the lecturers really do seem to enjoy engaging with students, and you are treated, more like colleagues, I guess. You're treated with utmost respect, and it's fantastic. That degree of interaction is really, really admirable.
So, something about the experience of being a student, the sort of work you have to do. As you may have heard, there's some anxiety as to whether students are getting value for money in their degrees. So how do you feel about the amount of time you're spending and the way in which you're spending the time in things like lectures, practicals, and so on? Perhaps Ollie first on this one.
Sure. I guess it's a shame that university education is being seen more as a product and we're the consumers now, but if that's the way it is. In terms of, we pay £9,000 a year. We have access to, as has been said, fantastic teaching labs, which, to cover all the equipment and stuff that must go on in there, you are given lecturers who are themselves researchers, who are very, very well educated and passionate about what they're talking about. And things like the library, the union, these facilities, and RECAP as well. I mean, the value of intellectual property, were you to try and buy this stuff, to look at it from that way, I think it's really, really good value for money, or at least that's been my experience.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. You do have that preconceived idea that you're actually hardly ever in uni and it's all like off your own back. But I think we've had, like, it varies like day to day, but we have kind of, I think it was like 15 hours of contact time roughly a week, which was a lot more than I expected. And a lot of that as well, the project work, the access to like research journals and being shown how to use them, how to draw information from them, has been kind of invaluable. Like, it just feels like skills that we really need, and the resources that are there are absolutely brilliant. So, no, I think.
What about practical work? How's that fit into the degree as a whole?
Sure.
Yeah, I think I imagine, although I may well be wrong, that will vary by degree programme. But speaking purely from the modules that I've done in cellular and molecular biology, they've been really, really varied. We've done, dissections, protein assays, kind of standard industry research level stuff. You are being given quality training should you want to go into academia or industry or the actual financial aspect. You're being given very, very high quality training, and I think the practicals, at least the ones that I've had, they've all felt very relevant.
And then you've probably had some field work as part of your studies.
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's really, really good fun and exciting to see how those kind of skills and your knowledge like applies in the field. I think it was particularly the ecology module that's done in first year that we had a lot of field work for, and that was straight away in semester one. We were out in the field, and then you have to kind of come up with your field report and collect your data and put it all together into a report, and that makes up a good like portion of the work for that module. So yeah, it is great to really start developing those skills, the kind of skills that if that's the route you want to go down, that will be really useful. So yeah.
And how about the balance between when you're being taught in really quite large groups versus smaller ones? How's that been?
Okay.
So again, I can only speak personally from the modules that I've taken, but I think cellular and molecular tends to be quite small. I mean, there are some classes that are mixed with other modules from other degrees. So, for example, I've done a food microbiology module, which was mixed between our relatively small group of about 20 people and food and nutrition students, and some are even bigger. You might be in a class of 100, you might be in a class of 10. It really varies depending on the topics you take.
And so do you feel there's a reasonable balance between those larger and smaller groups?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends, obviously, how you feel you work best. Obviously, the smaller groups give you more of an opportunity to engage with a lecturer, but equally, having larger groups means you can do like the clicker questions that we do, where you can quickly survey a big room full of people to get general consensus on an idea. So having that mix is really quite nice.
And you'll have had the same thing in the first year with really quite a lot of fairly large classes, but some small group teaching as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the tutorials are about 7 people, which we work on the Biology in Action module. So they're really useful. You get really in-depth feedback on your work and what you're doing. But at the same time, you've kind of got that necessity for getting the information to a big group of people, especially I think in like the biochemistry module, you're in with some combined honours, and like plant biology, you're in with agricultural students as well. Like the psychology modules, you're in with the psychology students as well. So, but then you've always got seminars and like kind of revision lectures, I think, have been put into every module that we've done, which is an optional. So it tends to be less like people coming, and you have the opportunity to send a question in advance, so you don't have that like pressure to expose what you don't know in front of a lecture theatre full of people. But you do get really good feedback and constructive advice on what you might be doing wrong and things like that. So I think it's done very well.
So if we look a bit more broadly, the university, how do you find that helps you to fit into student life, the support services that the university makes available? Francesca?
Yeah, well, having just started, I've found it really good, to be honest. I don't know a single person who's had to live in accommodation they don't like for the whole year. To start with that, everyone has flatmates occasionally that they don't get on with, but I think the system for finding those problems early and potentially moving people into accommodation that's better suited when there's space has been really good. I ended up with a flatmate halfway through the year, which I didn't have at the beginning, and but yeah, no, it's been absolutely great, and yeah, the facilities for that is fantastic.
Ollie?
Yeah, so there's other services. Francesca has just talked about the accommodation aspect. There are things like the career support service, which is done on campus, that helps you with writing things like personal statements and applying for jobs and things like that, which as people approach the end of their degrees, it becomes really, really useful. And things like essay checking as well, and the student wellbeing service, I must plug as well, has also been fantastic. Things like mental health support, and financial support and things like that. There really is, if you need help, the help is there. I think that's got to be the thing that's said.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the societies as well. I got really involved in societies this year, and there's so many more that I still want to try out next year. There's literally anything like you're interested in, there will be like other people who are like-minded. So if you're not finding those on your course or where you live, like there is somewhere for you to find like-minded people, which is really great.
Yeah, on that note, if you decide to come here, which I very much hope you do, there's a thing we do called Freshers' Fair in the first semester, so right when you first arrive, and it's all the societies showcasing themselves, and you'll do the thing that we all do where you go through and you sign up to
everything.
15 societies, you go to 3 of them, but it's fantastic that, I mean, I think there's well more than 100 different societies.
I think there's like 160.
Yeah, and even if there isn't one for you, like I set one up earlier this year. If there isn't one for you, just set it up. It's really, really easy, and there's really the scope for you to do whatever you want. It's so diverse.
What about the Biology Society? Are you involved in that at all?
I'm actually the charity officer for the Biological Society this year, and yeah, we've got lots planned on how to build the society and really create this community aspect to the students that study biology here, and try and make it this one big community, hopefully where everybody knows each other to a certain extent. It's hard with a big academic society, but we're really trying to push it this year and trying to achieve that, which will be really good.
Unfortunately myself, I haven't been involved with the Biology Society itself, but that's because my attentions have been kind of diverted elsewhere through. I was heavily involved with the Courier, which is the student newspaper that the student union publishes every week, and some activities like that are big, not time sinks, but you will invest more hours than you probably should into them when you should be studying.
But part of the university experience is to do things beyond your curriculum, so sure. It's great to hear about that. I suppose that brings us to what you think about doing afterwards, support. What kind of support do you get from the university to develop those kind of career directions?
Yeah, sure. I was actually really impressed with the career services that are offered. I kind of expected it to be like halfway through second year, maybe third year, they're going, right, okay, now you've got to think about getting a job. But literally, I think it was first week, second week maybe, we had a talk with people from the careers service, because it's so important now to be thinking about how you can use your time most efficiently so that you are like the most employable person you can be at the end. Advice on things like summer internships, work placements, everything like that. It's so available, which has been absolutely fabulous because you can't really afford to not start thinking about it at the minute.
Yeah, there is I've noticed as we've gone through, there's been incredible opportunities that we can take. You just mentioned internships. I'm doing one with the university this summer. It's part of a synthetic biology competition, but it's full-time, paid over the summer. You get fantastic sort of industry biotech experience, which is very, very exciting. I remember we've just finished a biotechnology module which had an optional lecture that was all to do with patent law, which, I mean, totally not assessed or anything, but it gave you an idea of how the industry is actually working, you know, the stuff you need to know, because particularly biology, you can move into law, I think, quite easily, for example, if you wanted to do that. Or there's the NCL Plus award, which is run by the Careers Service, which, you know, you're doing all these societies. I think it's 70 hours you have to put in alongside your degree, but it can be anything, just 70 hours of extracurricular activity, and you get recognition for it. It goes on your permanent record, I think, which is great for showing off to employers. It shows that you're more than just a student. You're actually out there doing things beyond your subject.
Which is what we are told is absolutely vital, but we hope that it's also rewarding for its own sake.
Oh.
So, a couple of other things. Perhaps you could tell us, it's a hard question, this. Yeah. Is there something you could identify as sort of the best thing about your course and studying here, Ollie?
Oh, that is difficult. For me personally, it has been the fact that I think it's the engagement of the lecturers. I think because it would be very, very easy, you know, theoretically, for a lecturer who knows what they're talking about to just get up, talk at you for an hour and leave, and, you know, you just take notes and do an exam at the end. But that isn't what happens here. They're so accessible. I've had people email me back when I've asked them questions within the hour. Not that I'm saying you should expect that, but that's like the level of what you're dealing with. It's people who actively want you to succeed, and I think that's the difference. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But as well, probably my favourite part of studying on the first year course was the Biology in Action module, and because you're literally given this task, a vague idea of a topic, but you kind of have the free rein to just pick something you're interested in and go and look at scientific journals and just find out what is known, what is being debated in the scientific community at the minute on that subject area, which mostly you choose. And that's very, I just absolutely love that, being able to go and find out about something you're actually interested in, but then apply the skills that we'll need for when it comes to writing third year projects and things like that. I've absolutely loved it.
Well, thank you both very much indeed. We hope that you found this useful. If you'd want to find out more about our degrees, our entrance requirements, contact details are all on our school website, which is http://www.ncl.ac.uk/biology, which is probably the important part to remember. So thank you for your attention.